Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pleasure to be back in the saddle on this Wednesday evening. I'm building a new PC. I'm just going to get right into it. I'm not doing gun content at the moment because the gun industry, frankly, fucking sucks. It's gay as shit, and I don't enjoy what I'm doing. At the time, everything's expensive. All these influencers are just a bunch of faggots, and they all suck, and they're all a bunch of shills. Gun quality has been going in the shitter for quite a while now, and it's especially shitty right now. And I'm just not feeling it. So what you see before you on this table is almost $7,000 worth of parts up there. We're going to get to that in a second. But basically, this is going to be a multi-part series, multi-part build, because if I was going to do this all in one video, it would be probably 2 or 3 hours. And I've already done that. I've been down that road. I don't want to go down it again. So this part is going to be rationale, what I'm building into, and the parts that I'm using to build the system. I need a new system because the system I have right now, that is my daily driver, is a micro ATX system. It's running a Xeon E5 2699 V4, which is an awesome processor for, parallel workloads, and that things that need thread scaling, that use a lot of threads, video editing, CAD, basically any editing program that has an intensive CPU workload. It absolutely shreds through that. Even to this day, it's a very, well, it's not very old. It's an aging X99 chipset type of system, but she's still getting the job done. But the problem is it doesn't do everything, which is why I built the PC with the 9900K, so that way I could game on that system, because there's a lot of games that are coming out that don't run on a CPU that only turbos up to 2.2 gigahertz. It's embarrassing, and so I want to get back into that, and I want a system that can just work all the time and do basically everything that I need a high-end PC to do, while also being somewhat future-proof. I'm hoping that the system that I'm building will last me at least 7 years. We'll see what happens to that. Technology and PC components are getting faster and faster with each successive generation, and everything is improving, and a lot of software is built around that type of hardware, like DX12 and ray tracing and everything. So with that in mind, I need a new rig. I need a rig that's very powerful and very quiet and very reliable. And so let's just get into the parts, I suppose. Well, I was going to start off with the motherboard, but I think the chassis that I'm going to be building into is going to add a lot of context for why I chose to do what I'm doing. I'm building, I don't know if you could tell, building a very high-end custom water cooling system, which I will tell you why in a minute. So this is the Lian V3000 Plus. It is an absolute tank of a case. It is 27 inches long, 27 inches tall. This case is by far the biggest that I have ever worked with in my entire career, in all of my probably almost 20 years, if not more, of PC building. This build is going to represent a number of firsts for me personally. This is the first EATX system that I've ever built for myself. It is also the first build. Yeah, I got cars driving by. I'm in the garage where it absolutely reeks of old diesel fuel and trash that's been baking away in the hot 90-degree weather for almost a week now. So this is the first case that I'm ever had to put in distribution plates. I'll get into those in a second. This is the first build that I'm ever personally going to have a delidded CPU, which I've done delidding before, but that was like until I think it was either Sandy Bridge or Ivy Bridge, whatever the 3770K was. It's been that long since I have ever delidded a CPU, and that wasn't for me, that was for somebody else. And we'll get into that for, CPU rationale. What else is a first for me? This is the first time that I'm ever putting 480 millimeter radiators in a personal system of mine. I've built a PC for somebody else that had, I think it was a 480 and a 360. It was a Case Labs SM8, not to be confused with the SMA8. So it didn't have that bottom chamber, which this one has a bottom chamber. So we got 1, 2, 3 480 millimeter rads that we're going to squeeze into this bad unit. This case is, you really can't appreciate the scale of this system or this case until you really see it in person. This thing is just absolutely enormous. We're talking, I already told you about the dimensions of it, but this thing weighs 75 pounds shipped to your door, which it's a damn good thing Micro Center offered free shipping on this, because I would have gotten ass raped on shipping. But because it's so absolutely colossal and massive and also huge and big, you can fit a lot of hardware and water cooling in this case. This is actually made to be a dual system case. So you have system 1 power and reset, and then you have system 2 power and reset, and you're supposed to use both of these sections of the front IO for those two systems, but I'm running a single system, so I'm going to be using all 4 of these USB 3.1 ports, and I'm going to be using both of the front panel Type-C ports on this case. And as with all of my other cases, I trim the front panel audio and like all of the useless like fan and RGB controller settings that I'm not ever going to use, and that brings your front panel cable bundle down to a much more manageable size, because with all the front panel audio and like, the RGB shit, it's a tangle of cables that I would rather just not have to deal with. I'm a boomer when it comes to building PCs. I'm not a fan of RGB, which I may have a singular RGB header going into the system. I don't currently know yet. Right now, I'm just like getting everything fit together. But getting on to the water cooling capabilities of this case, you have a 480 millimeter removable bracket down here in the bottom chamber. You have a 480 millimeter bracket up here on this mid plate, which I have a distribution plate installed there. You can have a 480 millimeter up in the top. You can also have a 480 millimeter up in the front. And you can have all four of these 480 rads in the case simultaneously with no compromises. That's a thing that like you just don't see on cases. Like a lot of cases advertise their radiator capacity. It's like, ooh, you can fit a 380 or excuse me, a 360 and a 420. You can fit multiple rads in there, but like what they don't tell you is you can't fit those big sizes simultaneously because like the ports on the radiators just don't line up. And yeah, it's just radiator compatibility with cases is really ass, and the marketing team knows that, and they're expecting you to do your due diligence when selecting radiators if you do a custom loop, which most people don't, and then they get pissed off when they find out that they can't fit both 420 rads simultaneously in their case, and whatever. Oh, also you can fit like I think a 360 in this area right here. I think that's you might actually be able to fit a 420 rad right here, but you can't do it simultaneously with the four other 480 millimeter rads in place. There's one caveat there. You can put a 120 on the back, but I don't know why the fuck you would do that. There's a lot of like flexibility with this case. You can do so many different things with it. You can take the motherboard tray. The motherboard tray is removable, by the way, and you can actually rotate it up so that your I/O is facing out the top and like your GPU is fit vertically, and that's pretty cool. I'm not doing that. I'm just doing, you know, standard basic bitch layout. But yeah, this case is really, really awesome. Again, if you're doing a high-end custom water cooled build, there's this. There's also, I looked at the Corsair 9000D, I think it is. Or is it the 1000D? It has like dual radiator support in the front, like a rad side by side. I'll post what it is in the comments in case you know, I can't remember what exactly it is, which I can't remember exactly what it is. So you may have noticed the distribution plates that I have installed in here. These are all made by, come on, focus, you fuck, Singularity Computers, based out of Australia. I've purchased a number of their products in the past. They are an absolutely fantastic water cooling company. They're very custom, and you are going to pay for it. These three plates here, they all costed me over $1,000 US. This is a very expensive build. This is also the first build that's ever costed north of $3,000, and I'm gonna, towards the end of the series, I'll give you a price breakdown of what I paid for the whole entire rig, butthole to belt buckle. But the configuration that I've gone with is a single loop res. So you have series pumps, D5s, That's because there's just so much coolant, and there's going to be so many elbows and 90s and turns and twists going through the loop. And, you know, you got CPU and GPU to cool. Like, you need those two pumps. That's absolutely required in order to get coolant flowing throughout this entire system. The bottom plate down here is, you know, as it implies, it's a bottom plate. Carries fluid all the way across through here. It meanders around, comes out, goes into this back plate, which screws into your back 120 fan slot. One thing I didn't expect, but it comes with all of these distribution plates, is RGB. I thought you had to order all that separately, and it turns out that it just includes RGB. So I don't know, maybe I will wire up the RGB just to give it a little bit of light on the inside. I don't really know yet, but yep, that's the Singularity Computers water blocks, and that's the configuration I'm going with. Oh, there's also a configuration where you can have your GPU mounted vertically, and they make a distribution plate, a mid plate, excuse me, for exactly that. And you can also run dual loops. So there's a partition in between here, and each pump is separate, and you can run one loop for your CPU, one for your VGA, and that's also an option. A lot of flexibility with all of those parts. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say about the case. Yeah, we'll go with that. I feel pretty happy with that. No PC is complete without the heart of the system. This is the MSI Mag Z3, or excuse me, Z690 Ace. This is EATX. EATX it's not really a standard, but this is what I've gone with. It has dual front panel USB Type-Cs. It has dual front panel USB 3.0 Type A's, or I think it's USB 3.2 actually, but it has two front panel headers, which this also has two USB 3.0 or 3.2 front panel headers, and it also has the dual Type-Cs. So that's really good. It has a fuckload of M.2 slots, which is really nice. This motherboard normally is like $500, but I got it off of Newegg with a rebate and discounted for a little bit less than 250 bucks. So that was a pretty, you know, it would have been pretty dumb if I didn't purchase it at that point. It has a very robust VRM setup, tons and tons of headers and measurement points. So if you're going to do extreme overclocking, you can do that with this board. I don't think there's a whole lot else. You know, if I think of something with the board that I like, you know, I'll, you know, come to it as it occurs to me. CPU is an i9-14900K. I am going with Intel in this build. Why am I going with Intel instead of AMD? I wanted to go with AMD. I was going to go with like a 7950X, which is measurably more powerful than this CPU at stock. The problem that I have with AMD is they just have consistent, perpetual driver problems. You've got memory training issues. Every time you update your BIOS, you got to go through like memory training, and you know, you got to set up Expo again. and then there's really no guarantee. It's just a whole bunch of RAM problems that, frankly, I don't want to have to deal with. I've dealt with RAM problems in 2 different AMD computers within the last year, and it was just, yeah, I don't want to have to deal with that. Intel has always worked for me. Yes, it runs a shit ton hotter. Yes, it runs slightly slower than AMD for the price point. But again, Intel just works. So this CPU is going to be delidded. We're running the EK quantum velocity squared block. This is for direct die applications. That's right. We are doing direct die water cooling. And yeah, I know. Boo. EK. Oh, horror of horrors. Thumbs down. Fuck you. Like, listen. The blocks were cheap. I got them discounted. EK has never done wrong by me. So I really don't give a shit about drama within the industry, as long as like you're peddling a quality product that I know I can base my system on in full confidence. I really don't give a shit. So I know these are going to serve me pretty well, and they were discounted and I bought them, so fuck you. RAM, not a whole lot special. I massively overpaid for RAM, and I am completely well aware of that. I just got it because it looks cool, and I know Corsair Dominator DIMMs are really high quality. So we got Corsair Dominator Platinum. This is a 64 gig kit, runs at 6,000 megahertz. This is a dual DIMM configuration, so I have the option of buying another kit and running 128 gigs, so quad channel, if I absolutely wanted to, which I don't think I'll ever have to do that. I think 64 gigs is just enough, or more than enough for my practical purposes. I guess we'll find out. My current system, the Xeon system, has 64 gigs of ECC, and I've never run into problems where I was overtaxing the memory, and I don't think I've ever gone more than 32 gigs, which is half of that, more than once, so I don't think I'm going to have a problem. Plus, it's going to be really fast. SSDs, this is going to be an all SSD system, all NVMe. Why is this blurry? There we go. So we got not 1, not 2, but 3. Yes, 3. 4 terabyte Samsung 990 Pros. This is going to be in a RAID 5 configuration, so 2 drives for striping, 1 for parity. I think that's how that works. Maybe I got that ass backwards, I don't know. But yeah, so in total I'm going to have 8 terabytes, or it's going to be like 7.6 something terabytes after it gets formatted. Roughly 8 gigs of super fast storage. I know the 990 Pros have had firmware issues. I hope that problem got solved with a recent firmware update. I don't know. I mean, I have a backup system in place for all my mission critical bullshit. So, you know, if it ever comes down to that, then it comes down to that. So, yeah, that's going to be super fast and should be reasonably reliable. Graphics card, Zotac Amp Extreme Aero, I think this is, yeah, Amp Extreme Aero 4080 Super. Burp, got a water block for that. Yeah, again, boo, EK, boo, boo, thumbs down, EK, fuck you. They're the only ones that I know of that make a block for this exact card. And I think, actually, I think Alpha Cool makes a block. It's either Alpha Cool or Aqua Computer, I can't remember, but from my research, I don't know, it just, it doesn't suit the aesthetic of what I'm looking for. So that's going to be the water block. This thing looks really good. So 4080 Super, I'm going to be running a 1440 panel for the foreseeable future. Maybe I'll replace this with like a 5000 series card when and if. So yeah, should be a decently powerful VGA setup. Power supply is the Be Quiet Dark Power Pro 13. This is an 80 plus titanium power supply. It's a 1300 watt, has dual ATX high power, whatever the fuck these are called. That's been giving people a lot of problems. Look, people, you plug it in all the way and you make sure there's no strain on it, and that's it. No fires, you don't have problems with shorts. You make sure it's plugged in all the way. Problem solved. So yeah, this is the first time I've gone with a Be Quiet power supply. These are regarded very highly by pro builders over the years. I don't know how much of that's marketing bullshit, but this seems for all the world to be a pretty decent power supply, and it's going to have more than enough capability for what I need it to do. And honestly, between this and the Seasonic Prime that I'm currently using, I greatly like the looks of this a lot better than the Prime series, even though I'm very partial to Seasonic. So, not that looks matter in this instance, because, well, it's going to be down in the ass end of the case, so you're never going to see it. This comes with custom sleeve cables, so that's pretty cool. It also comes with cable combs. If you're into that, the GPU power, the ATX 3.0 connectors are like standard, mesh sleeved wire cables. They don't come like custom sleeved or anything. It's just, I don't know. I'm probably going to end up going with a set of cable mod custom cables for this unit. In fact, I'm definitely going to. I thought I was going to make my own set of cables for this. I'm not going to do that. It's way more work than what needs to be. What else is new? We've gone over the GPU block, CPU block. This is a loop pressure tester. Oh, fans. So yeah, this is the old reliable Gentle Typhoon. I guess they're not made by Scythe anymore. I guess made by Dark Side now, but yeah, these are one of my favorite case fans. They're very easily modded. A lot of things you can do with this. They're not PWM controlled, but they're very easy to mod. You can take the hub off with a pair of very small snap ring pliers, and you can basically mod these till the cows come home. I have a total of 16 of them. I have a fuck ton of fans to go into this rig. And it's part of the reason why I'm not going with, or why I'm not building my own PSU cables, is I'm going to have to sleeve all the cables for each and every one of these fans. And that's going to be very tedious, and it's going to take a long fucking time to do. But these are really good quality fans. Again, Gentle Typhoon. I've been running these in my personal rigs for, God, ever since I can remember. And they've never done wrong by me. Yeah, these are really good quality fans, and they're not very expensive. You can get these on performance PCs for like $12 a pop. versus Noctuas, which are, I think the newest generation of them are like 30 bucks a piece. It's fucking outrageous. Yes, it would be more convenient for me to use like the uni fans where you just like clip them together and then just install them. But again, those are like, I need 16 fans in total, and I'm just not fucking spending a quarter of my budget on fans. That's just asinine. That's unnecessary. I'm willing to spend the time that it takes to, you know, build out a custom cable set for fans. It's not that difficult. It's probably, other than a Molex, it's pretty much the easiest cable in your PC to, you know, sleeve and mod to your heart's content. We have an NFA4. Why do we have an NFA4? Why an NFA4? Look how cute and tiny it is. Let me pull it out and show you. Well, this here is a passive heat sink for an Aqua Computer Aquero. I'm going to be using the Aqua Computer Aquero 6 as my fan, pump, and RGB controller. Again, this is assuming that I'm, you know, going to go balls deep into RGB, which I don't plan to, but I'll still install the cables for it. But yeah, this is a passive heat sink, and this little fan is going to go right there, and this is going to be the CPU fan. This is going to plug into the CPU fan header, because again, all of my fans are going to be handled on the Aquero. The Aquero's coming, like neither one of my D5 pumps are here yet. And the Aquero is not either, but that's going to be coming real soon. So, because I have all my fans controlled by the Aquero and not the motherboard, it's not going to have a CPU fan. And the motherboard's going to flip its shit, and it's going to be like, you don't have a CPU fan connected. Oh my God, your CPU's going to die. So I'm going to be a cheeky little bastard and plug this little bastard into the CPU fan header, and this is what it's going to be cooling. So, yeah. One thing that's absolutely absurd and hilarious about this block, or this heat sink, is there are two holes in it right there and right there. You can actually install a water block onto this heat sink, and you can have a water-cooled Aquero 6. Just insane. And the Aquero 6, I need that because my motherboard, although I know it can handle all those fans, I just like the Aquero 6 in terms of modularity a lot better than like having to control it via motherboard software. It's just, I don't like controlling fans via the motherboard. It's a pain in the ass. Yes, I can spend an hour tweaking and tuning, but I'd rather just do it. I'd rather do all that off of this one simple to set up device. You know, it's just how I feel about that. And last and certainly not least, we have our 3 radiators. I'm going to be running 3 of them. Yes, 3 480 millimeter radiators. So we have 2 of these. These are the XT45s. There's one here, and then a UT60, which is a 60 millimeter thick cross-flow radiator. That's going to go up in the top, and I will demonstrate why. All right, so the rad layout's going to go as follows. In the front is going to be a standard 45 millimeter 480. And then I'm going to have that same rad down here. And then the crossflow rad's going to go up in the top. And the reason for that is we'll start here in the reservoir area. So you got all of your, you know, coolant going down in the pump. It goes into the second pump. And then that gets pushed out of this little hole here and then goes down into this pass-through fitting right there. This is irrelevant to us. This is for the dual loop version of this block right here. So this is irrelevant to us. So it goes down through there. We flip over to the front of the case. I'm gonna go down through there into a T-fitting. And the T-fitting is gonna go out that way for the drain, and then it's gonna come out into here for the port on the front rad. It's gonna go through the front rad, it's gonna come out over here. And then here in the bottom compartment, the rad's gonna be going this way, ports over here in the bottom port, and then out the top port, out over, and then there's a port right here that your fluid's gonna go and circulate around, and then it's gonna come out of there into this port there, and then through there, and then out. It's gonna go out into the GPU block, out of the GPU block into here. Now it's gonna cross over, and this is gonna come out there into the CPU block, and then out of the CPU block into that port, gonna flow over to here and then out, making a couple of 90s, and then it's gonna go into the cross flow. Now, you can have a standard radiator with ports in the same side. You know, that's what this little guy is for right here. It would come into that rad and then out and into here, and then do some weird shit where it would plumb back into that part of the reservoir, but I'm not doing that, and it's instead going to come out of there into the cross flow rad. It's going to come out of the cross flow rad, couple of 90s, and then into there. I'm probably going to add like a filter coolant flow sensor somewhere in this mix here before it goes into this return for the reservoir, and that's basically how that's going to work. Now, I am fully aware and cognizant of the fact that this is an extremely overkill cooling setup, but when you consider the fact that I'm going to be running a 14900K, which pulls 300 some odd watts at stock, like no overclock, and then I got a 4080 Super, which pulls an additional 350 watts, again at stock with no overclock, and that's going to get delidded and overclocked ever so slightly. So it's going to pull probably close to 400 watts just for the CPU, and I'm going to remove the power limit on the card. Stop focusing, weird, you fucking thing. So that's going to pull probably close to, I don't know, 400 watts on its own. So this is going to be, you know, I'm gonna say it's necessary to have that many 480 rads. You could definitely get away with at least 2 480s, but I want to add that third rad just for, you know, to make it nice and quiet. I want to be able to run my fans at the minimum speed possible for cooling. That way this thing's nice and quiet. And that's the rationale behind all of this crap that you see before me. So I think that pretty well concludes the, I don't know, me talking about the components. I'm going to start outfitting in part 2. That's going to be its own video. I don't know how many parts this is going to be, but it's probably going to be at least 3, if not 4. Plus an addendum. So be on the lookout for those when they happen, and I'm gonna get these videos offloaded, and yeah. So thanks for watching, and keep your dick wet and your shit pipe tight.